Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker with a tea that is a rarity, really. You won't find this very easily at any other places. Let me reach over here and get a spoon. And so I'm going to have to treat it a little bit differently. This is an aged tea. This is if the information is correct, it is a 1958 BaiHao sourced from Taiwan. I've got a 2 ounce, actually about a 3 ounce gaiwan here. I'm going to have to be careful with this. I'm putting in enough of this tea to fill up that bottom, say, inch area, which would roughly be a teaspoon plus or minus about a half a teaspoon, probably a little bit more than a teaspoon. That looks good. Actually, I like mine still stronger. I'm going to indulge a little bit here. Add just a little bit more. That looks good. Now, because this is an aged tea, I'm going to have to treat it a little bit differently. This is an aged oolong, and it often will have, an aged tea like this often has lots of layers, and you don't want to oversteep it, because you'll lose a lot of that fairly quickly. So often what you'll do is a very quick steep. Basically just pour the water in, put on your lid, and decant. So while that's sitting there for just a moment, this will, our time in between will give us a little bit of a few moments to kind of talk about this tea, tell a little bit more. Let me get this water out of the way. As I said, this is a 58 BaiHao. It is from CamelliaSinensis in Montreal. You can find 25 grams for $16.75 US dollars. Now, the issue with an aged tea like this is, one, it's quite unique. You don't come across them every day. And the backstory behind this tea is just is often lost. This tea was stored away somewhere and gets uncovered at some point. And because of the time frames there, a lot of times you can't verify. One, you can't verify the date, the age of the tea. Sometimes you just kind of have a vague idea when you think it might be. You don't have a lot of information about the harvest, the way it was processed, because it was so long ago that it's just kind of a find that gets pulled out of the vault kind of thing. And so you don't have all that background. Now, which brings up the point of the issue of, would you want to age teas on your own? Perhaps you do. You can age pu'ers, of course. If you want to set aside, remember what a year tasted like, you might want to buy that year's tea. Same thing people do with wines. If it's a good wine season or harvest for that year, they'll set it aside so that each year they can kind of go back and get a little bit of an idea of what that year tasted like, plus what all the years following have, how they have influenced that taste. You can do that a little bit here as well. So without knowing a lot about the original tea, you can just kind of look at the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor, starting here with the dry. Now, aromas on an aged, older tea like this are going to be quite faint. They're going to be hard to pick out. A lot of that character has been, a lot of the original character is no longer there. The other thing you note is that with some aged oolongs, depending on how they're processed and depending on who you ask, some people will say, yes, you need to re-roast. Others will say, no, if it was a good quality tea, processed properly the first time, there's no reason to go and re-roast year after year like some people do. You'd want to study up for that particular kind of tea that you're looking at and the processing that was done to find out, the aspects, whether roasting needs to be repeated every year or so or not. Now, breathing into this, trying to get a little bit of a hint of what's going on here, and I just kind of get a wood-like note, a dried, cured wood type of character there. Not really enough to go into any kind of depth or nuance as far as the dry leaf aroma there. Looking at these leaves, fairly consistent in color. They are that grayish brown type of bistre colors. I see some stem pieces in here as well, which are a little bit lighter, more towards a milk chocolate type color. Portions here, leaf sizes, you have some that are, say, 1/2 inch. You have some others that are 1 inch or maybe even a little bit more. Most of them are in between 1/2 inch to 1 inch. They are wiry, twisted along the middle vein of the leaf, so that you get a little bit more, slender pieces, not bald. And that's about it. Some of these look to be full leaf, full intact leaves, and a lot of these others that are shorter, of course, appear to be leaf portions. So, and I would say the portions kind of outnumber the full-sized leaves there. Let me see if I can carefully get this back in. With a tea like this, the other thing, like I said, one, you want to give briefer steepings. The other thing is that you often give more steepings out of a tea like this. As they age, they yield, they unlock their character gradually in stages, and so you'd want to steep this 5, 6, possibly even up to 10 times just to get all of those layers out. Right now, for our tasting here, we've only got time for one layer to look at, so I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the wet leaf though first. Now here I'm getting more richer aromas. Yes, this is getting more towards a, there is a kind of, not quite a dragon fruit, the actual Asian dragon fruit, Chinese name Holongguo. It is almost like a fuchsia, neon pink type color with layers of it. It's almost egg shaped, and there are flaps or overlaps in the layers of, it's like scales almost kind of shapes, and as they curl out, of course, they get a little bit of almost like a leaf tip off of that fruit there. So you cut it open, you get a nice white fruit, and so it's a little bit of a raspberry, a little bit of a warm. This one's actually got this tea actually has a little bit of that dragon fruit raspberry-like character, a little bit of a warm heat type note to it as well. So it's got a light, gentle, yet sweet kind of toasty aspect to it there. Not as pronounced as like some of your Wu-Yi Oolongs that have almost a Cheerio type toasted oat character here. This one's much more subtle than that. Pulling out some of these leaves, they haven't really unfurled very easily. If I try to kind of open them up, they tend to tear because of their age. Some of these just kind of between my fingers, I give them a squeeze. They feel fairly coarse, heavy, thicker leaves. The other thing is that story behind, the other thing you don't know when you get an aged tea is, why did this tea get tucked off into the corner? Was it just simply forgotten as new teas came in? Was it a tea that just didn't sell very well, and so it just got kind of shoved to the back? What happened? Why? These leaves feel fairly thick, leathery almost. Okay, so setting that aside, on the other hand, I guess I should say, if it was a poor leaf, a poor tea, it would not have been re-roasted like this one most likely was. It was simply again, tossed aside. So that has something going for it, that it was revisited, it was re-roasted. Someone thought it was at least worth preserving a little bit longer. And so that's why you may have some times of roasting. You may have some times where it was just kind of forgotten. But I'm going to go on to the liquor now. Give it a swirl here so you can kind of see. It is a, it's almost got a pale honey-like color to it, with a little bit more towards an orangey tinge there. It's almost like it's got it close to an Oriental Beauty type orangish color, yet it's a little bit more subdued. It's a little bit paler than that. Okay, a little more aromas coming off now. Got a little bit of a woody type. Again, just a little bit of seasoned firewood there. A little bit of shrub branches, kind of woody shrub branch that is dried a little bit. So it's not like a heavy lumber type, heavy wood treed branch type smell. Aromas and tastes here are fairly subdued as well. Again, this is a tea that you're going to unlock in layers, several layers, and you want to do quick steeps so that you get, you can notice the progression of those layers. Things that you will note, there is a fairly nice smoothness, sweetness there, especially in the back. One of the indicators, some will tell you that the better the quality of the tea, if the aftertaste, the sweetness, and the texture seem to rest on top of the tongue or the middle of the tongue, that's weaker. What you're looking for is more of a taste, texture, feel that just kind of sits like a syrupy, throaty syrup that's resting in the middle of your lower parts of your throat, and that's where this one's resting. It's resting right around here in the middle of my throat, moving up towards the back of the mouth as well. So it's in this whole region here. So that's nice. That's good quality there. This is a tea, because of its ages, you're not going to talk about bitterness. You're not going to talk about high levels of astringency either. I get a bit of white raisin, I should say. White raisin is in there, so it's got a bit of a sweetness there. What are some of the other things I want to note? Because this one can have different, like I said, different layers, and off camera I did kind of try to put it through several layers. There's a little bit of almost like a vanilla bean type character there. So white raisin, vanilla bean, those are the characteristics there. If there is a woody type, it's again, it's subtle, it's subdued, and it just kind of builds well with this honeyed vanilla type, white raisin type character, folds right in with those very well. The other thing, let me think. I was about a year ago, about this time, I tasted and did a review of a 1979 Shuixian. Again, another aged tea. What I found comparing this one and that other one, this one just did not, as an aged tea, this one did not have as many layers to it. The Shuixian, the aged, went from a little bit more of a ginseng, plummy region there. This one, where one of those characteristics dominated at first, and then it fell back, and then the other character took its place and dominated. So not as much of that happening here. This one's fairly consistent over, and I did several steepings, up to 4. Just could not detect as much of a progression of taste distinction. So looking at this tea, still an exquisite, a great example, something to consider worth trying out, because you can get smaller amounts, like 25 grams, something that you want to, dip your toe into without a lot of excessive investment. So I would give this tea a 97, one of my highest scores. Something that a great conversation piece, a great collectible, a great tea to kind of learn from. So come back to Walker T Review to find those teas that you want to learn from and learn about.